we all here have left medicine or as far, I should say clinical practice at varying stages of our lives. And probably me most recently, on paper, I should probably still have several more years where I could be a good productive doc. But I made a decision to kind of move on to other things. And really, a couple things led me to that. And one of it was the headaches of administrative issues. And I know my colleagues can all speak to that too. But ultimately, I felt that my time in medicine, 26 years of being a doc, I could help more people in a different capacity beyond the walls of my 12 by 12 treatment room or wherever it was at the time. So Natalie, I just like to kind of throw it out there to you, some of the thoughts you have on this topic today.
Well, it is multiple issues for sure, but we know that the corporate practice of medicine has, to me, destroyed a lot of the joy that physicians had, and that is driving them out much quicker than they probably would leave. That's why I made the decision. I've been locum tenens for like 12 years. I've been an independent contractor, very long time. So I'm used to traveling and also growing up in the military, being in the military. So for me, it's not like a hard move to think about, going overseas and working in New Zealand or elsewhere. That's not unusual. And so I said, why not do that now? I mean, 2017, I just started looking for places to go because I was just getting burnt out. And emergency medicine, it's very metric driven, it's volume based. So if you're having someone having a heart attack and a stroke at the same time, and you're managing both of them, but after the fact, your department meets and they talk about how fast doctors, they keep the statistics on how fast you move compared to other physicians, and they don't pay attention to those kind of details. Like on that particular day, it may have been particularly busy and you had a lot of high acuity patients. None of that is relevant. It's about, well, whatever it is, we just need you to speed up. That I just couldn't, I can't do that anymore. And so I made the decision to leave temporarily 3 years ago and work in other areas. And, but I still love emergency medicine. So I just don't want to do it here in the US.
I think it's fact. You said a word that came out of your mouth that I used probably about, 10 years or so ago, maybe a little bit more. But I was dealing with some headaches from Medicare. I specialized in wound care. I had my own clinic, and I was kind of ahead of the curve as far as a continuity of care model that I was using. And so I was under prepayment review. Every week I would have to submit like X number of charts. And after a while, I just, it's taken all the joy out of practice.
Right.
And that was the word. That was the key word. And over the years, there's been more instances where the joy kept being taken away from me.
Right.
And I think all my colleagues here, we all loved medicine. We loved it. We loved the patient interactions, the chance to use our intellectual capabilities, our gifts. And yet you get somebody that you're constantly having to answer for who's not even qualified in a sense.
Right.
Who doesn't have the same insight, the same expertise. And yet you've got to answer to them. And there's that big disconnect that occurs, and it creates a rift.
Well, it seems to me like with Natalie's practice, that was a given from the get-go that you were working for the hospital system. And then it sounds like her mechanism to deal with that and escape from that was to become locum, right? So you could go place to place, and if this place didn't suit you, which I wonder what the burnout rate for emergency room physicians just staying in their employment, because compared to just all the rest of us feeling that way, it's, I know the locum business has grown spectacularly. The buddy that used to be with me who practices in Phoenix and is still doing cardiovascular thoracic stuff, what he does is he does locum in Montana, and that's how he gets all his skiing vacations and stuff. Because so, he figured out a long time ago he does like 8 weeks a year of locum work. So I think that was a good mechanism. How did you come upon, well, I understand the travel part because of your upbringing and your military background and family. So how did you come up with New Zealand? I mean, I want to go, but how did you come up with
well, a lot of ER docs are going over there. There's a lot of American ER physicians over there because ER is it is a high burnout area, but we don't actually work for the hospitals. We work for contract medical groups that are backed by private equity corporations. And it's a business and it's very much run like that. It's right. And that adds to, and so if you're working for a corporation, which, yeah, they have figureheads called physicians that appear to be the face of that corporation, but it's really a business telling those doctors what to do and how to run the business. And when I came out of the Army, I fully expected to work at one place in my hometown of Sacramento for 20, 25 years, retire, and then travel again. That really was my plan. And back then you had what they call small democratic groups. These small groups would run local ERs. You'd work for them. You had partners. It would take like 5 years to become a partner. They would get the bigger part of the bonuses. Even the small democratic groups were predatory. And so our hourly pay would be low. But the good thing about it is they were like a family. You got to know everyone. You'd be with them for a long time. We'd have parties. There was still that connection. Those small groups sold out to these corporations like Envision, Team Health, HCA, a lot of big corporations. You know, they just sold out. It's like any small business that sells to a bigger corporation. That's what emergency medicine became. So we actually work for these corporations, and we are not employees. We're actually independent contractors now. We used to be employees for those corporations, but you lose due process and other rights when you are no longer an employee, right? When you're an employee, you have some rights by law. When you're an independent contractor, a lot of those don't apply to you. So a lot of these corporations made us independent contractors. I was doing that, I was already doing that before all of that happened because I wanted to be my own boss and I didn't want to be under anyone's thumb. And when I saw the corporations being bought out, you might have Team Health at one site and then they get bid out by another corporate giant and they take over that contract. And when that new corporation comes in, they don't have to keep the physicians that are there. So they can just fire you that day and you don't have a job and you've got to go find a job. And of course, you know, when you credential, it takes about 3 to 4 months. So a doctor can be unemployed and that can create a hardship. Didn't happen to me. I was fortunate that I was always kept on because somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who liked the way I work, but it could have been me. And I said, you know, I don't like being in that situation. I'm not going to keep all my eggs in one basket. What locum tenens allowed me to do was to have more than one person I worked for. If one job fell through, I still had 3 other jobs. And I just worked per diem anytime, but I had the ability to increase my hours. And
you set up your own benefits.
Yes, I had my own, I paid for my own benefits. I paid for... Yeah, I paid for my own benefits. I had to pay quarterly taxes. It became routine, just like it does if you were working full time. When it becomes your practice, it becomes the norm. So I have a tax guy in New York I've been with for like 18 years, and he would take out the quarterly taxes and everything was fine. I write off all my travels on one credit card. I did not make a corporation like some people. I was too lazy, but you know, it worked out. And then I felt more empowered. And because one of the things they hold over your head is if you don't work the way they want you to work, they can, there's a hint that you can be terminated, like if you don't speed up. And my rule is that patients first, I have a priority order, and that's patients first, documentation second, because that's how I protect myself. And speed is third. If you don't like that order, don't hire me. And that is what I tell them in interviews. I'm the product. You know, if you're going to be business, if you're going to do business, then I'm going to do business with you. I'm the product. So if you want this product, here's how it has to work. Because I'm a low risk type of doctor. I've not been sued. I have a clean record, 26 years. I'm board certified in emergency medicine and so on. They're getting that package. So they don't then get to come and have me come in and tell me what to do. And I'm okay with being told what to do. I was in the military. I know how to follow orders. But I have a mommy and daddy. I don't need any more. The Army had my time, I'm out. And when it's my license, I decide how it will be used. That became the way, because I felt that a lot of what they were doing was putting my license at risk by by the metric, what I call the metric system. That's what I call it. The metric system put me at risk, and I decided what's the two things that when you start a new job, what's the two questions they always ask? They always ask, do you have any lawsuits, and are you board certified? Those are the first two questions. So I said, but then you bring me in and you put me in a situation where you put my license at risk, so I can't be hired by anyone else. So I'm not going to let you do that. This is how I'm going to work. So I don't get fired, but I get taken off the schedule in some places. That's their way of firing, because they don't have a reason to fire. If you're going to have the attitude I have, you got to dot all your I's and cross your T's, and you've got to be such a good worker that there's nothing they can hold against you clinically. And that's how I practiced.
Yeah.